All right. So what's going on, everybody? This is Twin Flames United. We are at it again, and if y'all don't know by now, I'm Chris.
And I'm Misha.
What up? And today is a very special day. Today we are going to be diving deep, real deep, into self-mastery. Because self-mastery is the way that we can actually gain control over our reality. Because right now, reality in these times that we're living in doesn't seem too great. If somebody's enjoying it, I don't know what to say, but
it's a collective consciousness. There's a collective consciousness that's at play right now. So understanding that everything is self, and the person who we deem to can't stand. It's just another aspect of self that we just haven't taken in. It's just a fragment of ourself that we really haven't harnessed just yet. And it's okay, because, life is a journey. A lot of people are really concerned about destinations, but it's really about the journey. And learning about yourself on this journey is very, very valuable, because when you think about buying a new vehicle, when you purchase this vehicle, you're the driver of the vehicle, just like you're the driver of the body, right? The mind, the spirit, the soul. That's all you. So spirituality is breath, it's life. But in order to operate in this realm and in other realms, you really have to know how to maneuver, just like you have to know how to maneuver that car if you were to get that brand new Mercedes-Benz. You don't know how to drive it. You were never taught how to drive it, or you might have forgot because you hadn't done it in a while. And so you just get into the car and you're like, oh my God, how do I, what is this, a wheel? Let me try to kick this and see what happens. So that's kind of like trying to take on this life without fully embracing all aspects of who you are. And sometimes along the journey, we can lose aspects of ourselves through trauma, difficulties, situations, circumstances, whatever have you. We lose aspects of ourselves because, the ego has formulated stories about ourselves, and anything that we disassociate with, we can literally create fragments of ourselves. And therefore, you have a separation within self. And so it's really, really vital to really get to know who you are in its entirety, so that you can really have this life and experience it in its fullest. And then when you move forward.
Yes. So getting right into it, we're just going to break down the agenda, which is, this is a 3-day event. Each day we're going to go into about an hour. The first day is really loaded with a lot of information. The first day is, and I don't know what happened to the ones. There's supposed to be some ones on those dots, like some numbers, but whatever. First we're going to go into who is Twin Flames Unite, and then we're going to go into what is self-mastery, some hindrance to self-mastery, and how to change belief systems. Yes. Because one of the things about changing our reality is understanding the belief systems that are dictating the narratives that's being said. So that's one of the things we're going to go into on day 1. And then on day 2, we're going to be looking into the 12 universal laws. And then we're going to look into mastering the elements. And when I mean the elements, I don't mean just earth, wind, fire, and water. We're going to also include spirit in that as well.
A lot of people forget spirit.
And then on the last day, we're going to go into some esoteric knowledge. So that day is going to be pretty deep. It may be a little bit shorter because we don't want to just overload you with too much, but it's enough information to lead you, to give you some breadcrumbs to go down that rabbit hole and find some information for yourself. And in addition to that, on that day, we're going to be looking into techniques for manifestation, and one in particular is going to be the sexual alchemy.
Yes. We're going to show you how to create more than babies with that energy, because it is energy. It's a creative force, and you can create so much in your reality with knowing how to master that energy.
Yep. And let me check. What's going on, sir?
Hello,
Glad to see you in the building. All right. And for anybody else that joined in, we just ask that you mute yourself for right now until we get to the end, where we're going to do the question and answering. But if you do have any questions along the way, please feel free to drop it in the chat, and we'll cover those as they come up.
Indeed, indeed.
All right.
So without further ado,
who is Twin Flames Unite? For those of you who don't know, Alicia and I have been together for quite some time, but in 2018 we started our journey on YouTube, sharing our experience and helping people along the way with any questions they had about the twin flame journey. But as things evolved, so did we.
And progressed, we started getting tons and tons of questions, comments, emails, asking a lot of questions. So that's when we decided to take it a step further.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, let's go in just a little bit individually. Who is Alicia?
Oh my goodness, why you got to start with me? Put me on the spot. Okay, so Alicia, who is Alicia? Alicia is a persona. Okay, like we all have this persona that we come into this realm of reality to experience. So that's the name that was given to me at birth, right? And I was born on a very, very exotic island in the Caribbean called St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Very pretty place. I've explored it from top to bottom. Very fortunate to have done a lot of traveling in my younger years. There's lots of waterfalls, lots of beaches, and I went to all. Very, very good childhood. And that's one thing I'm grateful for. Mm-hmm. I had a very, very exciting childhood. There was never a dull moment. While in St. Vincent, I attended a Catholic school, but it's like Anglican. So it's Anglican elementary school. And very churchified. I grew up Christian. And then I took place in a lot of activities because I was always very active. I was on track, volleyball. I did modeling, taekwondo. I was doing everything as a child. Very exciting childhood. I had some traumas, right? As most people do. And I had to deal with those traumas as I got older. But in any event, I went to Bishop College. It was a high school, another church school, Bishop's College, Kingstown. Then when I was 19, I decided that I had outgrown my environment. So I wanted to explore. I wanted to travel because I was always traveling as a child. So now I feel like I was older. Well, I felt like I was older and ready to take on the world. So I left, my country as 19 years old, dropped out of college. And I told my mom I'm going to go explore the world. And she looked at me like I was crazy. And she was like, well, where are you going to go live? Like, what are your plans? I'm like, I don't have any. She was like, oh my God, you have lost your mind. I was like, nope, I'm about to go find it. And she thought I was joking. So I got a little part-time job for about 4 weeks, and I saved every penny. I didn't even spend a penny. And I bought my plane ticket, and I came to the United States. And then for a couple of years, a couple months, I was like, okay, this was a mistake. But then I was so stubborn, the stubbornness within me, I didn't return back home. I said, you know what, I'm going to make the best of this. And I did. Had lots of struggles. I'm telling you, it was like parallel worlds. I left comfort and I went into discomfort, so the complete opposite. But you know what? As time went by, I got grateful for everything. Took a while before I could see the lessons. Many, many lessons. I even went on and I got my degree in the matrix for business management at Berkeley College. Right now I'm doing psychology at Ashford University. About to finish that up. But, met my beautiful baby a couple years ago. After all those crazy relationships that I was in, had 4 beautiful children. But it took me a while to get to this point that I'm at right now. And I've gained a plethora of life lessons through these experiences. And I just feel like I went through those experiences for a reason. It wasn't just for me to keep all of that to myself. It was meant for me to share those experiences with the next person, because it could be a tool that they can use on their journey also. So that's just a little bit about me, not too much. And as you can see, I have a very important role model in my life, my mom, which is my great aunt. I call her my mom because she raised me. And Atia Lee, this is the shaman that started me on my awakening journey about 3 years ago. Totally opened me up to a whole nother world. Definitely have my third eye opened up. Beautiful journey, scary but beautiful. And so now I'm just ready to do this this light worker stuff. So that's just a little bit about me. Little, nothing too exciting, but that's just me in a nutshell.
Hey, that's all we need, just a little bit. All right. Well, I guess I'm up next. All right. Well, wow.
Where do we begin?
It's a whole bunch. Well, I was born and raised in Alabama, Birmingham, Alabama, one of 3 kids from a single parent home house. And being born in a single parent home, there are a lot of different challenges that came with that, especially with me being the middle child. So a lot of times my older sister got the brunt of a lot of things, and my younger brother got a lot of the stuff. But because I was in the middle, I pretty much tried to reserve myself as much as possible. I would sit back and watch and see how my brother and my sister got in trouble, so I wouldn't get in trouble. But from then on, I lived pretty much if there was a picture for the definition of an introvert, my picture would be next to that in the dictionary.
I agree.
Because I spent the majority of my life very secluded from individuals, not really going out partying, doing a lot of stuff. But it did lead me into the realm of religion. And to be honest, I really can't say that I was like Baptist or anything like that, because I went to AME churches, I went to Baptist churches, I went to non-denominational churches, and it was a journey. But somewhere along that journey, after being married for 10 years and then getting divorced after those 10 years, pretty much lost myself in a sense. And I tried to look for a lot of different ways to motivate myself, which is one why you see Eric Thomas up right on the side over there, along with Ralph Smart. Some of those individuals were the ones who really helped to spark me along in my awakening. And it's funny because the reason why I put Eric Thomas and Ralph Smart in here as somebody who was motivational, because when I first started watching Eric Thomas, he had this whole thing saying that nobody's going to come save you. Like, you got to save yourself. And I was like, that's crazy. I mean, at least I got God that can save me, Jesus that can save me.
Right.
But then one day after I got with Alicia, and I was watching one of Ralph's videos about the God program. And oh boy, once I realized that the God program was a program, it literally turned my world upside down. And that's what I called and told my baby, this world is just upside down. Because one of the things that Ralph revealed was that nobody's going to come save you, because there is no savior to come save you. And for anybody who's watching this that is on the Christian path, please don't take this as a jab at Christianity, but
or any religion.
Or any religion. It's just that particular religion actually helped shape me into the person that I am today, one who can be respectable and show compassion to just about anybody who's coming down the street, no matter what they look like, what they smell like, or anything of that nature. So because of that, I was able to really start on my journey and really develop myself and understanding where my power actually came from. Because once I figured out once I discovered my truth, that there was no external power out there for me to grab a hold to, then I had to go within.
Right. It kind of forces you to go within, and it's levels. It's levels to your awakening. And so, one foot in front of the other, come into this world, you come as a baby. Then you grow, you're 7 years old, then you grow again, you're a teenager. So everything has its purpose. Yep. And everything has a rhyme and a reason. So they all serve.
Mm-hmm. And just a little bit about Twin Flames Unite. Of course, we started our YouTube channel in 2018. And then about 2019, we started doing one-on-one sessions. Since then, we've done almost over about 100 some odd sessions. And we got some people coming in just in time when we're about to get into the master class.
That is beautiful.
All right. And for those of y'all who are joining in, just please make sure to mute yourself as you come into the room.
Something might be going wrong with
let's see what's
okay. Admit.
Yeah, I'm admitting, but they keep coming out.
Something isn't going right with that. Okay.
All right. But we're gonna keep admitting. We'll see what happens. But up until this current day, we've been able to reach about 5,000 subscribers, and it's still going. And we're just so blessed that we have reached this point, and we're just looking to go above and beyond.
I think something is wrong with this. Let me send her a message. Just keep going. I'll tell her.
Yeah. All right. So now we're going to move on to the good stuff. All right. Self-mastery is a gift. It is a major, major gift. All right. And when you look into self-mastery, it's really simple. It is very simple. Hold on. We're going to the next slide. All right. Because when it comes to self-mastery, it's really a question of, can you stay on track or do you go off track? And there are a couple of things that are going to dictate how you can move along. And please forgive me, that's just throwing me off trying to get somebody in, but it's just not
it keeps kicking them out.
Yeah, for whatever reason it keeps kicking them out. I'm not sure what's going on with that. But it's just real simple. It comes down to those things, but there are some things that really hinder us from really mastering ourselves. And before we get into the mastering part of things, as far as some steps about how to go into it, first we're going to look at some of the hindrances that can hold us back from actually mastering ourselves. All right. So there are 5 hindrances to self-mastery. Okay. The first one is the sensual desire. We're talking about taste, see, smell, stuff like that. The second one is ill will or wow.
Why do I keep aversion?
Aversions. I knew the word, but my mouth didn't want to say it. Aversions. The third one is dullness or heaviness. Some people may call this laziness. Mm-hmm. Then the fourth one is restlessness. We're talking about the monkey mind that can hinder us from achieving self-mastery. Mm-hmm. And then we have skeptical doubt. These are these questions that you always ask yourself, like, what if this, what if that, and things of that nature. Okay? So we're going to go ahead and we're going to jump into the first one, and we're going to break down that scenario so that you all can have a better understanding of what this first hindrance is and how we can overcome it. All right. You want to start off on this one, babe?
Yes. So sensual desire. So like you see, the slide says this is a positive interaction of the 5 senses: hearing, seeing, smelling, tasting, feeling. Now, as simple as this may seem, these can really prevent you from going forward or moving forward to the journey of self-mastery. And a simple explanation for this would be, like, what are you hearing? Because these are all, you can think of these as portals, right? These are all portals through the inner world, which is the real world, which is the world that we create from. So what are we listening to? Like, what are we taking in? Depending on the information that you're taking in, that information is really going to shape your perception and then it's going to shape your behavior. So if that information that you're perceiving is not taking you to that next level, it can actually prevent you from moving forward, right? And same thing, another portal is seeing. Like what are you looking at? What are you reading? Who's around you? Smelling, another portal. Tasting, like this goes back to food. What do you put it in your body? Because whatever you put it in your body, it's going to add to you, and it's going to reshape your DNA, right? And depending on what type of energies that you're taking in, again, that can hinder you from moving to the next level, whatever that is for you, because everybody has their own journey. And last but not least, what are you feeling? And so we actually have a slide here after we go through these, the senses and things of that nature. We're going to show you a literal picture of how your emotions literally affect your reality, and how it shapes your life, and how not to allow that to happen, right? So what are you feeling? All these things tie into you moving forward to whatever that next level is. So part of self-mastery is being able to be the observer, to step outside of yourself, to really pay attention to all of these things. Your sensory perception is really important. And there's another one on here that we didn't put yet, and that's the sixth sense. You can consider that your third eye.
Facts.
Right?
Yeah.
And so these are the sensual desires. So really sit down and take a minute and really pay attention to the sensual desires and dissect them and see, how is this preventing me from moving to the next level? Am I trying to go on a diet? Am I trying to eat different? Like what is really affecting me from moving to that next step? Yeah. Right?
And yep, you said it exactly. The pineal gland.
Yes.
Yes. And just to give like my baby was just talking about, like you're trying to go on a diet. This is just a simple demonstration of how your sensual desires can throw you off track.
Right.
Okay. Let's say you do have a goal to lose weight, and you decide, okay, I'm getting up in the morning, I'm gonna do my jog, and when I finish with my jog, I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna have my smoothie. Okay. Now, prior to you going on this jog, you know that you have this temptation of your local pastry shop. And that local pastry shop just so happens to be along the route that you take for your jog. Now you go through, your jog, you probably went like a mile, and you probably got like 2 more miles to go before you turn around. But you just run past that bakery, and you just smell the goodness, the evil goodness that's just coming out of that bake shop, right? Yeah. And you say to yourself, like, I need to finish my jog, but I'm right here. I might as well go ahead and stop in. And so you go ahead and you stop into the local bakery. You get yourself whatever your favorite pastry is, and then the barista offers you to get a coffee along with it. Right. And then you end up seeing one of your friends at the bakery. So like y'all sit down and y'all have a chat. Now your whole jog for what your immediate goal was for you to go on a run, get back to the house, and drink your smoothie.
Right. And this is really like basic. But this is how it starts. You got to start at the basics, because if you're not even able to, like, harness or take control of the basic sensual desires, the other things that are up on the chain, it's even harder. It's even more difficult. So you want to start at the basics to really get control of these things, right? Put them into balance.
All right. Now on to the next one. Excuse me. Oh, why this? The next one is the ill will. And from a lot of y'all know when we say ill will, we're talking about those negative emotions, those negative belief systems, which we're going to get into about how to break those belief systems. And then we have, and a lot of times these negative emotions and negative belief systems can actually be directed towards individuals, things, and situations. And, I can speak on a personal note for this because, I have a lot of patience. for when it comes to individuals, when it comes to human beings, flesh and blood, I have a lot of patience.
Yes, you do.
But when it comes to technology, when it doesn't work how I want it to work, I don't have that much patience. And it's one thing that I know about myself, and it's always a constant working, or I wouldn't say battle, but I'm working on it.
Right, right.
Right? And so let's just say, once again, real life example here. I have a project that I need to get done. And I have to go through and create all of these slides, for example, and things of that nature. But if the program is not working the way that I want it to, then I'm getting mad at the computer, putting all of my negative energy into the computer,
Right.
which is not helping me reach my goal, which is finishing the project of whatever presentation that I'm working on.
Right, and that could be as far as an individual, like you have ill will towards an individual, and sometimes individuals, they come to teach us something. And sometimes we might have this ill will to that particular individual that we never get that lesson. And so it turns out as a backfire. So because we didn't grab that lesson when they brought it to us, we're going to experience it again in another individual. And so this ill will can keep us in loops very easily. So you want to be very mindful, and again, put yourself in the seat of the observer, so that you will be able to look at the situation from the bird's eye perspective. And again, another basic part to self-mastery. All of these 5 slides, these are the basic ones. And once we cover the basic ones, then we'll go up the chain to the more deeper ones, the more challenging ones. And then we're going to dissect, how to really get rid of them, how to master these things.
Yep. Let's see. I'm trying to get it in there.
I'm still trying to get one of our beautiful clients to come in, but it's not working.
All right. So now on to the next slide. I think it's your turn, baby.
Yes, this one is dullness and heaviness. So again, laziness, not motivated, and we all know motivated means the motor, right? If that engine ain't start up, if it's not cranked up, we're not going any place.
Yes.
Depression and feeling of being trapped. This is really a biggie, because this can have you stuck in a downward spiral, and you're definitely not mastering anything in this spiral. And so these are one of the major hindrances that a lot of people encounter, on the journey of life. So again, we're going to keep going, and we're going to get into how do we get out of these spirals.
And then the next one is the restlessness. We're talking about the unsettled mind, not being present in the moment, aka the monkey mind.
Yes.
Okay, because if you have a task that needs to be done, it's really important that you have that laser focus that's spoken about, that you have that focus on the task, so that you don't drift from one subject to the next. You stay right in the middle, and you stay focused on what you need to do. But if you have an unsettled mind and you're thinking about bills, you're thinking about somebody who just broke up with you, or you're thinking about, I just stumped my toe on the side of the bed, then some of those things can hinder you from your goal of self-mastery.
Right. And the biggest one is the one that's in the middle. So not being present in the moment. And when you find yourself always thinking about something that happened, okay, or your actions, man, I should have did this, I could have did this. So you're in this shoulda, coulda, woulda phase. That's how depression sneaks in, right? And so now when you're in the future, man, I can't wait to do this, I can't wait to do that. You're literally projecting yourself into the future, because we're multidimensional beings. Okay, we have the ability to create worlds within our own minds. Okay, so when you're absent from the present, you're missing the gift. Like literally, you're missing the gift. Okay, so and then when you're in the future, what happens is it creates anxiety. You will always be anxious when you're in the future, and when you're in the past, more than likely you're going to always be depressed, even if you're thinking about something that's good, because then that can lead to you missing that moment. And then you start to feel sad because you don't have that moment, or you don't have that person to experience anymore. So being in the past, even with a good memory for extensive, long period of time can make you feel depressed. And again, that's the downward spiral, preventing you from moving to that next phase.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. And then to the last one, which is the skeptical doubt.
Yes.
Skeptical doubt is the indecisiveness, the constant questioning of self. Once again, can I do this? What if I don't have? You know, these are things that stop us from reaching our goals, because we have all of the tools inside of us to do whatever we need to do. But it's just a matter of, do we have enough willpower to actually carry it out?
Right.
And that willpower, a lot of it comes from even trusting yourself.
Yes.
You have to be able to trust yourself and trust your abilities in order to get something done. Because if I have all of the tools and all of the equipment, all of the materials needed to build a house, but then I sit there and I look at the material and the tools and the equipment, I'm like, can I really do this?
Right. And that comes from what's called the inner critic. This point is really important. This is the inner critic inside of ourselves. This is the judge inside of us. The judge was created most of the time when we were kids. This is when we create the judge. And so the judge serves its purpose when we were younger, right? So when we were younger, our parents would tell us things like, okay, if you don't do this, then I'm going to punish you. If you don't do this, you're not going to get this. So it's kind of like a sense of lowering yourself, you know, thinking that maybe I'm not good enough. I can't do this. And again, this is another downward spiral that we got to watch out for. Okay? Because sometimes we condition ourselves to, and this is a false perception of self, by the way. This is not who you really are. This perception of self was formed out of somebody probably telling you you're not good enough or you can't do this, right? And sometimes we get down on this spiral. You know, have you ever had a situation when you were in a really, really low place and then you might have experienced some, you know, bad experiences because you were so low? And then maybe one day out of nowhere you just said, you know what, let me get up out of this dump and let me do this, let me start doing this, let me start doing that. And what happens when you're down there and you pick back up and you know you got something accomplished, then you're telling yourself, okay, good. This is what I need to do. I need to suffer, or I need to really get down at my lowest lows, because that's when I get my motivation. That's not always the truth. That's just a story that we make up and we tell ourselves, you know, and then we start saying, can I do it? What if I don't have? Because this is the kind of story that we're training ourselves with.
Yes.
Right? So that inner critic, and we're going to teach you guys how to balance out that inner critic. Because we all have it. It's just a matter of what type of relationship do we have with that inner judge.
All right. So yeah, so now we're about to get into some techniques as far as self-mastery. And we actually got part of this technique from a gentleman who's actually a practicing monk who brought about this technique. And I think we got somebody finally in.
Yeah, we've been trying to let her in for a while now.
All right. So now with this technique, it's called Let It Rain. Just let it rain.
Let it come in.
You have to, and this is in conjunction with the 5 hindrances. Okay, just keeping these things in mind. This is when you take a step back and you get out of the fight or flight mode. Okay, now in order to get out of the fight or flight mode, you have to do a couple of things as far as breathing techniques and things of that nature to really calm yourself down. But once you're able to calm yourself down, then you can disperse this technique.
Yeah, you have to be in a kind of balanced state before you can even get this done.
Right. And we're talking about, because RAIN is just an acronym. It means to recognize, to accept, to investigate, and then to non-identify.
Yes, yes, because this is super important. And again, in order for you to be able to do this, you have to be at a stage of acceptance. Because growing up, my mom used to always say, Alicia, the first step to recovery is acceptance. You really can't even begin this in any form of self-doubt or any lingering feelings or denial, which is one of the biggest hindrances. I really think is denial, being in denial. You have to accept it. Accept everything about whatever it is, the situation, the person, the circumstance. You just gotta just be the observer. Look at everything, recognize everything. Once you recognize it for what it is, you accept it 100%.
Which leads us right into the next one, is that once you're at a point and you sit back and you're keeping yourself in check, you can recognize, okay, what's holding me back right now? Is it my limiting thoughts? Is it my wow, now I'm drawing a blank.
Belief systems.
Yeah, belief systems and things of that nature. You don't want to ignore it when they display themselves.
Yes.
You want to make sure that you, because this is once again staying present in the moment and understanding where you are emotionally, physically, and mentally. You want to recognize where are you. Okay, so like for the example that I mentioned earlier, which we're going to go through on each one of these steps, is the whole pastry thing.
Yeah.
Okay, because when you first started off on that run and you saw the bakery on your way on your job, you can recognize at that particular moment that what you are about to do is going to take you off of your path. Okay, and then the next thing that you can do is you can either accept your choices to do it, or you can accept your choice to not to do it. But you can't ignore it to say that, oh, I'm not the type of person that would stop their run just to go to a bakery, or just say to yourself, oh, I'm proud of myself. I'm gonna go ahead in this bakery and I ain't gonna be ashamed about it.
Right. Or you can do the blame game. And this doesn't have to be a pastry. This can be anything. You can do the blame game. You know what? It's not even my fault, because if I didn't meet such and such, or if I didn't do this, this would never happen. So this is not even my fault anyhow. That's the worst thing that we can ever do in life, is to externalize our power and to play the blame game, because you're literally giving your power. When you blame someone, you're literally giving your power away.
Right, right. So yeah, you just want to embrace all aspects of yourself, except the foodie that wants to go in there and get that pastry, and accept the person that has the pride within themselves to continue on the journey, even though it's hard. You know, embrace that person that's brave, and embrace that person that is also weak. Because they're one and the same. It's
all aspects of yourself, and this prevents you from becoming fragmented. And we'll get into more of that in some other slides.
Yes. But in the next part, you want to investigate.
Yes.
You want to ask yourself what, when, where, who, and why. You know,
this is really important. This is key, because you have to investigate yourself. First, you got to accept it. You got to own it. Now you got to investigate. Okay, what, when, where, who, why. And this is questions that you're asking yourself, and you have to be in a complete state of authenticity. You have to be honest with yourself. It's the only way you're going to move forward, is to be honest with yourself and ask yourself these questions. Because when you start asking yourself these questions, you're going to find a root cause of these hindrances. You're going to find out where exactly did it come from. And so this one is key.
Yes. And then we're also going to, in just a little bit, we're actually going to give you some information to help you dive even deeper into this, to really find out where these root problems coming from. Because right now we're kind of taking a perspective of as far as the external, and we're going within.
We're going to work our way in.
Okay. But on the next one is to not identify with whatever hindrance it is.
Yes.
And just remember that you are not the body, you are not the mind, And you are not the emotions.
Exactly. And this is very important to remember, because if you want to test this, you just have to ask yourself, whose body is it? And you'll say mine. Okay, whose am I? Okay, who is the mind? Whose mind is it? You say, this is my mind. Okay, but who's the mind? All right? I'm feeling emotional. Who is the I? So these don't belong to you. The body is a tool that you have here to have this physical experience, but it is not you. It's a tool. The mind, again, it's a tool. The emotions, you can learn how to use your emotions to serve you instead of, having it just have you run rampant, by not understanding how these energies and motions are moving throughout the body and what type of effects it's having on your physical body, because it bleeds out into the spiritual also, your aura. And we're going to get into all of that a little later on.
Yeah, and actually that's going to be the next subject that we're going to get into. But once again, when it comes to self-mastery, in order to master the external world, you have to master the internal world. And in order to master the internal world, you have to first know who you are.
Yes.
Because you can't go through and say you go and buy a new MacBook Pro, right? If you go and buy a brand new MacBook Pro and you don't know how to use it, it's not going to benefit you.
Right, and you're going to be missing out on components. You might have shortcuts, and you don't really know the shortcuts because you don't know how to work it properly. You might know the basics, right? And most people know the basics of the body. They know how to eat, not necessarily what to eat, right? They know how to eat, they know how to sleep, they know how to go to work, they know how to talk, right? But they might not necessarily know how to have a conversation. And it sounds crazy, but a lot of people don't know how to have a conversation, and so they end up in broken marriages, broken relationships, isolation, and it is just because they don't understand how the body works. They don't know how the mind works, and they don't understand how the emotions are affecting them every single second of every day. So that's what we're going to get into right now.
Yes. So, man, know thyself.
Yes,
that
please.
is going to be the key.
That's what we got to do.
All right. Now, on this next one, we're going to be jumping into, once again, we're going a little bit more within. We talked about some things that's external that can either help us or harm us when we're going towards our self-mastery. And one of those things is understanding that you are more than just your body.
Yes.
Your body is just a small piece of the Chinese doll, where your body is like the center part, and you have all these other parts, these shells that actually go outside of you.
Yes.
And this is where we get into the 7 subtle bodies.
Yes, and a lot of people have this thing where their spirit is inside of their body. Okay? Couldn't be further from the truth. Could not be further from the truth. Your body is inside of your spirit. Okay? And this is what this template is going to explain to you. Because that's why people would say nowadays, oh, your vibe is throwing me off. I don't like your vibe. They're talking about someone's vibration, what they're feeling. They can't explain how they're feeling it, but they know they're feeling something. And this person hadn't said a thing, but they're feeling something. Well, we're going to talk about what they're feeling and why they're feeling it, right?
Yes.
It's the electromagnetic field that's outside of our body. This is why they say you got to vibrate higher. Okay, when you talk about vibration, you talk about frequency and energy. Just like Nikola Tesla said, if you want to understand this universe, you got to think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. What the hell was he talking about? He must be talking about something if he figured out electricity and he wanted to give it to humans for free, right? Until they killed him, because they wanted to sell it to everyone instead of give it to everyone for free. So he had to have been onto something to recognize that, frequency, energy, and vibration would really explain our existence in this realm and other realms also, other worlds. So we're gonna dive in. We're gonna get into. We're gonna go a little deeper now. We did a lot of surface stuff because you gotta start from the basics. Right. And so now we're gonna work our way down just a little bit further inside, and in the inside world, because it's 2 worlds, right? There are 2 worlds on this plane. You have the physical world, which is the world that we see outside, which is our physical body, right? And this is the denser world. This is why they call it the 3D, because it's much denser. It's on a very it's on a lower frequency. So everything has slowed down, like really slow. So that's why everything is appearing like so physical, because it's completely slowed down. Mm-hmm. With these 7 subtle bodies, we're going to go into them. The further out you go, the higher the frequency, right? The more vibrations. This is why it's easy to feel someone when something ain't right with them, because you're feeling the electromagnetic field, which the vibrations is bigger. The frequency is higher. So you feel that more, right? So somebody could say, I'm feeling okay. And you're like, no, you are not okay. And they hadn't told you a word, because your vibrations do the introduction before you can even speak.
Right.
And this is why. And I'm going to let my baby make that. Could you guys see this okay? So the 7 subtle body. We're going to start out with the etheric body.
Said, internet connection unstable.
Are you guys able to see this? Just put something in the chat if you're able to see this.
Yeah, well. Just let us know if we're coming in clear enough. Just drop a message in the chat. Just let us know, because we're just seeing something about the internet connection is slow. So okay, just let us know if we're still here before we move on to the next one. And let me check the time. Oh wow, it's 7:50. Oh, we
fine. We're gonna get through this. Okay. So this is the juicy stuff.
All right.
All right, good. So they can hear. So we have the.
So the next. So as far as the whole breakdown, and let me just see if I can use this here. So we have our 7 subtle bodies, which is the etheric body. We have the emotional body. We have the mental body. And then we have the astral body. Then we have the etheric template body. And then we have the celestial body. And then we have the causal body, or the etheric template.
Mm-hmm. Now that's the 7th one.
Right. Now each one of these 7 subtle bodies is actually connected to a chakra. And just like we started from the etheric body, that's connected with the root chakra. Mm-hmm. With the emotional body, that's the sacral chakra. And so on and so forth, just moving up the chain when you go from the root chakra all the way up to the crown chakra.
Exactly. Okay? And one thing I wanted to point out with the etheric body, that's the first layer. That's the one that's outside of the physical body. Mm-hmm. And so for that layer, that's when, I don't know if you ever heard the term attachments, right? Attachments, when you were cutting cords, if you were wanting to do, I don't know how, versed you guys are as far as how deep it goes, but there's something called cutting cords, and that's when you're attached to someone that's no longer serving you. They can attach to your etheric field, and that's how people can drain your energy. Mm-hmm. Like there's some people that you can go around and you're tired, you haven't done any work. You just literally had a simple conversation with that person, but you are tired as hell, like you've been running a marathon. And it could just be simply as over the phone. You don't even have to be close connection with them, but they make you tired. It feels like you're being drained. And so some people, what they do, and you can easily attach to someone in many ways. I know sexual intercourse is one way where you can connect cords with somebody through the etheric field. That's one way. Another way is karmic ties, right? That's another way. But that's how they would latch onto you, and this is how they'll drain your energy. They do that through the etheric body. Mm-hmm. Okay?
Yes. And Veronica wanted me to go back for a second. So hopefully you got that information. And we're going to go ahead and jump into the first level, which is the etheric body. Mm-hmm. Now, this etheric body, it actually exists about 1 to about 2 inches away from your physical body. Yes. A lot of times you can actually see this if you, actually you can see a lot of these 7 subtle bodies depending on how open you are. Yeah. But if you actually stand on a white surface, a white background, and you actually look past the person, sometimes you can actually see what's called their aura.
Yeah.
And depending on which color you're seeing, that's the one of the 7 subtle bodies that you're seeing. Sometimes you'll see a whole rainbow.
Yes, but it all depends, and we're going to go back to the basics. It all depends on what you're putting into the body. Because our body is designed to take in a certain kind of fuel, okay? Just like a car, like you have a Ferrari, you know, you paid $100,000 for this car. You're not going to go put chicken grease in it because you're going to mess it up if you put chicken grease in that Ferrari. You have to put in the top premium oil in that car for it to run like how it's supposed to. So we're going back to the basics as far as being able to see these other worlds, right? To be on different frequencies and vibrations, you have to be putting the right fuel in the body, right? So you can't be drinking things like fluoride water. And fluoride literally destroys the body. Like you can't really function. The body's not going to be able to function like how it's supposed to. So you're really not going to have this full experience that you're here to have because of the type of fuel that you put inside of the body. That could be like that's why we started out with that in the self-mastery, because for you to move through these levels, you know, you got to do certain steps before you can get to the next level. Right.
And let me just put this here.
So a person who has a well-activated third eye, someone who has their chakras are in alignment, it's really spinning, it's doing what it's supposed to do. You could see this very easily. Like you could see at least the etheric field easily. Like it won't be a problem for you to see auras if your pineal gland is clear and it's doing what it's supposed to. You do frequent meditation. Is one way, because when you meditate, you're studying the world that's inside of you. And it's just really common sense, because you just have to think of it in a very simple term. Wherever attention goes, energy would flow. So if you're more focused on the physical world and you're more focused on the external world, that world is going to become much realer to you than the internal world, which gets less attention.
Right.
Okay, so if to balance yourself out, you definitely want to give the inner world some attention. You want to give that inner world some focus so that you could have that full experience that you're here to have.
Yes. And one other thing about the etheric body, if you see down here at the bottom paragraph, I don't know if you all have gone through and read it or not, but the etheric body actually holds a lot of your physical health and energy as far as your physical body is concerned. And you can see how this is really tied down to the root chakra, because we're talking about survival, which your health is everything. So that's why it's really important for you to watch what you're putting in your body and things of that nature.
And what you're seeing and what you're hearing and how you're feeling, all of that is tied into the root chakra, and you will see it. If you go to these shamans, you know, the ones who are really not influenced by toxic things of that nature, they can look at you and they can tell you what's wrong with you. They'll tell you got high blood pressure. They'll be like, okay, this artery is clogged. They'll tell you everything.
Yeah.
Because they can see your field, your auric field.
Yep. All right. And so for the next one, this is for the emotional body. Now, this one was a, excuse me, let me drink a little bit of water. You go ahead, baby.
Throat dry, baby. So the emotional body, right? This one, and each one of the layers, they extend a little further from the physical body. And not only do they extend a little further, but they vibrate at a higher frequency. So each body vibrates at a higher, the further out you go, the higher the vibration is, right? And this one is about 1 to 3 inches from the body. This is the emotional layer. Okay, this is where you house all of your feelings, right? And usually it's a bright combination of rainbow hues. And you can see this. There's special cameras that you can use to actually see these auras if you're not able to see it with your naked eye as yet. But if you have negative emotions and you have repressed feelings, the color is going to be, it's going to be a little duller. And you can tell what type of emotion you're giving off by the color that comes off. So as you can see, they have you see anger, That's what anger would look like. Fear, disgust, happiness, sadness when you're surprised, if you have a neutral feeling, anxiety, love, depression. Yeah. All of these will tell you, the colors will tell you, you know, what you're emitting at that moment.
Yeah, I actually found this pretty shocking right here. Is that if you look, now, the one thing I was about to say before my throat got dry was that, you know, for the longest time, I actually thought that the emotions existed in my mind. I didn't know that they were actually external outside of me. Because when you look into the 7 subtle bodies, you can understand where these things lie.
Right.
And it's just really crazy. But one of the things I wanted to point out when you look at this diagram here is that when you look at happiness, for example, let me see if I can draw.
Everything is lit up.
Yeah, everything is lit up and it's warm and it's inviting. You know, but when you look at depression, which is all blue and almost black,
cold,
you know, that just shows you how your emotions can go up and down. And if you also notice that in the happy part, where's the most brightest part of that picture? It's coming from the heart.
Yes.
And it's coming from the mind, because they're in sync, which is one of the things we'll touch on a little bit later. If not today, I know we're going to talk about it tomorrow. But when you look at the depression, you can see all of the lower stuff pretty much being lit up. So it's really you in your lower nature.
And there is no connection with the mind and the heart.
Yeah. So.
And so the mental body. Okay. Yes. Again, as it goes out, these things, they vibrate. It's a high vibration as it goes out. This one is 3 to 8 inches up from the body, and this is your mental body. Okay, this is the 3rd layer of your aura, containing. This is where your ideas are, mental process thoughts, and it says the layer is typically associated with hues of yellow light and radiates around the shoulders and head, slightly extended into the lower regions of the body to communicate with other levels. Okay, different levels of consciousness. With this body, you can literally, this is, have you guys ever heard of the term the cloud, where they call it the cloud? There was this guy, he got into really, he had a bad accident. I think he had some type of seizure. He's an author, I forgot his name, but he's a really good author. And he writes like books that's like 500 and 600 pages, because he does research for about 6 years, and he'll go into different countries, do his research, and then he'll come back and write his book. So he had this seizure, and because of the seizure, he lost a lot of his memory. And so he was like, I have to write this book. How the hell am I going to write this book? And I don't remember, you know, the information to write the book. So he said he started practicing meditation. He really started learning about the inner world. And so he said what he was able to do is to connect to what's called the superconsciousness, which is a cloud. And within that cloud, that's where he was able to gather all of his information to write his book without even using his own memory.
Right.
So we share ideas. And so this is why when somebody say, oh, damn, that's my idea. How did you think about it? Somebody could think about an idea, you never acted upon it, but someone else did act upon it, but it's the same idea. It's because it's the mental body.
Yes. And that's why a lot of times our thoughts are not ours. Once again, this was something that I had to get corrected on, because once again, I thought that these thoughts existed in my mind.
No.
But they're actually outside of me. So every thought that comes about is not one that deserves your attention,
right,
and deserves your action. Because one of the things that actually, and we listen to Seven Bomar a lot, and one of the things that he explained is that this mental body picks up a lot of different frequencies. Okay? And sometimes, if you ever just been out and about, and then you just had a song pop in your head out of nowhere, and this may not have been like your favorite type of music, Because there have been times when I actually hear like a country song come up. I'm like, hold up, I know I don't listen to country music. Where the hell is this coming from? And when Seven broke it down, when you start developing yourself and you start tuning yourself up so that you vibrate on a higher frequency,
yes,
you can actually pick up radio stations that somebody else is playing.
mm-hmm.
And to think about it, there's actually a body shop that's like a block or something over from where we live. And I'm pretty sure there's somebody in there that listens to country music. And so that explains why.
And they do that now. And as we develop, and because everyone is shifting, literally, like the planet has shifted. So everyone is going to shift into a higher frequency. And so the powers that be, they know this. Of course, they're going to use it to their advantage. Mm-hmm. So what they're doing is they're pumping these frequencies.
Yes.
You know, sometimes you can be sleeping, you can go to sleep, you can wake up, you can take a nap, and there's a song playing in your head. It's because it's coming from these radio stations that's pumping these frequency into the atmosphere. And mm-hmm. so you pick it up with your mental body, depending on where you're vibrating at. Because again, the further out the subtle bodies go, the higher the frequency, the higher the pitch. Mm-hmm. And so if you really have your body tuned up, then it's going to be a lot easier for you to pick up on it. Or some people, they'll just pick up on it and they won't know how. But again, this goes back to mastering the self, you know, mastering these bodies, being aware, putting yourself in the seat of the observer, you know, being able to look at these things and to recognize it when you see it. Because being able to put yourself at a different awareness, at a different level of awareness, it gives you a lot more power. It gives you a lot more control over your life, you know, on literally on different dimensions.
Yeah, and just a little teaser for you all, that if you actually put in the work and you get yourself tuned up, you can actually hear other people's thoughts.
That's a whole nother level.
It's happened to us quite a few times.
That's a whole nother level right there.
Yeah, but just a heads up, if you tune yourself up in such a way, you can actually hear other people's thoughts.
Yeah, that's what they call the telekinesis, remote viewing. Like these are, it sounds to the person that's probably hearing this for the first time, it's going to sound like please, okay, whatever. Now you lost me there.
Like they cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs over there.
But if you guys go and do your own research, and we always encourage people to do their research, with all the information that we provide here on today, these are nuggets. And it's for you to go and do your own research and for you to find it for yourself. We know it's not going to come back void, but it's for you to go within, find it, get your own truth, get your own confirmation, and also go and find it. You'll find it on the outside. If you find it on the inside, it's on the outside, because we create from the in and then we see it outside.
Right.
But there was a research that they were doing back in the 60s and the 50s, 1960s and the 1950s, and they were teaching others how to remote view. And this guy spent about 30 to 40 years of his life invested in teaching others how to remote view and to try to wake up the psychic that's within each and every one of us. If you have a soul, you're psychic. Okay, it's not a mystery. It was just made a mystery because then, if you guys know what government means, it's govern means to control, right? Break it down again. Go look it up. It's not going to come back void. Govern means to control. Ment comes from the word mental. So when you think of the government, this is somebody you put in charge of your mind. So they're governing your mental. So if you're governing something, you're in charge of what goes in, and therefore you'll be in charge of what comes out.
Yes.
So you have to think of it on a different level. If I'm in charge of somebody, they're not going to know everything I know, because how the hell am I going to control them if they know everything I know? I have to give you information that's enough where you're not stupid, you can function, but I'm not going to give you a lot of information to make you where you're actually independent and maybe smarter than me, because then I won't be able to fool you anymore. So it's just on a very common sense level. So this guy, he went out, when he discovered, after he did their research, they had many researchers, they had many tests that they put to teach them how to remote view. People were remote viewing. they would send someone in an area. They would put them in a room, and they would tell them to draw. Where do you think this person is, or what they're seeing? And they would literally draw like a waterfall or a water fountain, and they would tell them what they're seeing. And he did this test with many people in classrooms, and they were doing it. And so because they wanted to use it as a for war or whatever have you.
Yeah.
But then they realized that no, this isn't good, because we don't want a lot of people realizing their true potential. This is going to hinder many agendas that we have. So they shut him down. They stopped his funding, and they shut everything down. And so he wasn't able to teach people this technique anymore. But it is something that we all have the ability to do, because we are multidimensional beings. And so knowing this gives you a certain level of power, empowerment, which we are all supposed to be empowered. Because in order for us to have this life and experience this life in its fullness, we have to awaken to what we are and who we are.
Right. Which leads us into the next body, which is the astral body.
Yes.
Okay. Now, this astral body is about a foot away from your body. And this is the body. This is really the bridge between our world and other spiritual realms.
Yes.
Okay. This is where you can actually get access to the Cashapp records, to the astral plane. Because I know a lot of people who are searching for their twin flame. We tell them you can find them on the astral plane if you learn how to master your body. This is what we're talking about. Once you understand that you have this astral body that allows you to travel from one dimension to the next, then there's so much that you can learn, so much that you can gain. Once again, this is part of the reason why stuff like this is not taught in schools. It's not taught on the public forum, because they don't want this to be known on a massive level.
Right.
Okay.
This is destructive to the agenda. But the astral body, this is our dream body. This is where we go into dream states. I remember when I was a kid, I literally dreamt about somebody. It's a complete stranger. I was like 16, 17, and I dreamt of this guy, and I saw him a few days after, and it struck me, and I was like, oh my God. I pointed at the guy. I was like, he was in my dream. And I know he was in my dream. I had no idea who this guy was. But I know I saw him in my dream. How the hell did I see somebody in my dream that I never met? I didn't know. And that's when I started questioning things. Like, this doesn't make any sense.
No, it don't make any sense.
And so the whole point, right? The whole point is for us to be awake in the dream. That's the point. That's a world. It's a world. This is why we have a body for that world. Okay, so we have a body, just like we have a physical body for this physical world. We also have an astral body for the astral world, right? The only difference is in those worlds, it's no time. And so the thing with time is, in order for us to have time, we need something called space, right? Distance is what gives us time. That's what birth time is, the distance. And so, especially in the emotional body, there is no time, right? And just a simple example, let's go back, rewind to the emotional body, right? Trauma is stored in the emotional body. This is why some people can keep reliving events that happened 10, 20 years ago. 2, 3 weeks ago. You can go back to the emotion and it will play as if it just happened, because it's no time. Time does not exist. So this is why you can go and see your twin flame. You can connect with your loved ones who's passed on through the astral plane. Yep.
And then on to the next one, which is the etheric template. Now, this one extends about 1.5 feet away from your body. Okay, with the etheric template is visible to advanced healers and clairvoyants, like we mentioned before.
Yes.
And this one, now this carries a lot of your healing power to the lower etheric body, because remember before we talked about the etheric body, which is the one that's the closest to it. This is where a lot of healers can help you heal yourself,
right,
because they're connecting to your etheric template body, which you can do yourself. A lot of times you can do that through breathing exercises. If you ever heard of box breathing, or
the fire breath,
mm-hmm. and the breathing techniques that's taught by Joe Dispenza mm-hmm. from Gaia. Those breathing techniques can really help you connect to that etheric template body, mm-hmm. where you can come through and you can heal yourself in multiple different ways. We're talking about emotionally, physically, and spiritually.
Yes, and mentally. And one thing that most people I don't think they really get the whole gist of healing. They think that someone else is healing them, but they're not healing you. Like my baby said, they're getting into your etheric body, activating it, and that is what heals you. So you heal yourself. They're just a catalyst for the healing to actually take place. But you don't need a catalyst necessarily. If you really get yourself in tune, these are things that you can do for yourself. Literally, you can, and it's not hard at all.
No.
You know, you just have to have the will, and you have to have the knowing, and you have to have the trust in yourself. And once you have those things there, that's enough to get that activated and get it going, as long as you put in the right fuels in the body so that the body can do what it's supposed to do. A lot of the times, the body can't really do what it's supposed to do because it's kind of handicapped from what is being put inside of it.
Right. Yep, and that's so true. And once again, that goes, all of this really ties into self-mastery.
Yeah.
Because instead of going outside and getting someone else to heal you, you can heal yourself. Mm-hmm. Instead of going to a psychic to try to figure out what's your most pleasing possibility that they can tell you.
Right.
Because most of the times when you go to a psychic, that's what they're doing, because they're seeing all of the different possibilities that you can experience in your life, mm-hmm. but they're handpicking those one particular perspective mm-hmm. that's going to be most pleasing to you.
Right.
And so, yeah, it is a possibility, but it's not something that they can guarantee.
Right.
But once again, these are things that you can actually see on your own.
Right. And one thing to keep in mind with psychics, mm-hmm. They do have the ability to see different timelines, right? But oftentimes people feel like when a psychic tells them something, it's cut in stone.
Yeah.
Like, okay, this is what they said, so this is what's going to happen. And it might get tricky because they might tell you something along your journey, and one of those things manifests. And so you're like, oh my God, the next thing they tell me is going to happen. No, mm-hmm. No, not at all. Because they're all what we call probabilities. It's timelines that they're seeing into. Mm-hmm. And so depending on the road that you're traveling down, they'll give you the most probability. Like they'll say, okay, well, you're going down this timeline. Like take, for instance, if you smoke cigarettes and you're coughing, right? They're going to tell you, well, hey, if you don't quit smoking within such and such a time, you might end up with this and this and that, right? That's obvious. You don't need to be a psychic to figure that out. And so what they'll give you is a different timeline. They'll tell you, okay, so if you're able to quit whatever, then you can begin healing yourself, and then you can have a different experience. That's a different timeline. So they're really just looking at the probabilities. If you meet a good psychic, I don't want to say good, if you meet a psychic that's balanced, right, and who really, they have your best interests at heart, if they see a timeline that's destructive, they might give you the information to stay you in a different timeline.
Right.
But it's up to you, inevitably. But just know, with people that can see timelines, that's what they see. They see timelines and they see probabilities. But none of these things are set in stone. You always have the power to choose.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Now, for the celestial body, this is the one that really helps you to communicate with the spirit realms. And it also connects you with more of the feeling of ecstasy and unconditional love.
Yes.
Which is something that a lot of people are looking for right now. Mm-hmm. And this is where a lot of people search for love, mm-hmm. because they feel like there's this void that's within them that needs to be filled.
Yes.
When in reality, they're just missing that connection to that celestial body. Mm-hmm. And in order to get that connection to that celestial body, you really have to be vibrating at a pretty high frequency to feel that feel, because this particular field is now it's not here in the notes, but it's actually about 1 to 2 feet. Is once again right outside of that which body did we just do? The etheric body,
right?
Okay, is right outside that etheric body, and so this is where you can really tap into that unconditional love, that bliss,
right.
And if you can connect to that, you won't need anything outside of you to make you happy. You won't need to have, I mean, of course, money is good to do what you need to do, and having a community is good, but the absence of these things don't destroy your happiness.
Right, and this level right here, this is like on a Tibetan monk level type of awakening or type of experience. We all have the ability, but this is really on a guru like type level, because this takes deep introspection. So you it's kind of like with this, the celestial body, it's kind of like you just literally like you let go,
Right.
And so you just turn within and feel the bliss. I don't know if you ever heard Sadhguru talk about the bliss. It's a bliss that you feel, and you let everything go. Some people get really blissful and they just want to stay there. Like I'm good. But some people are like, you know what? I need to go back and I need to tell people about this bliss. And so they come back on the journey, to tell others, hey, there is a bliss that you should feel. So they're different people on different journeys. And again, we all have choices within this journey. But this right here, this is a whole different level of awareness.
Right. And for the last level, and after this, we're going to get into the belief systems, and we just want to check in with y'all because we know we said that this is going to be about an hour. We've already gone past that hour, so we definitely want to be respectful of you all's time.
Absolutely.
So definitely just drop it in the chat and let us know if you're good, because we know some people had to run out that were in here. So we just want to once again be respectful of your time. So just drop it in the chat if you're good. But the next one is the causal body, and this is the etheric template. And this is the last level of everything. This is actually the shell that is within you. Now, and I say the shell because there's actually information that Martin Kinney gave as far as the cosmic egg and how that is actually formed. Once you see on tomorrow, when we go into the 12 universal laws, you'll understand that as above, so below, as within, so without. So just like you have this cosmic egg that is encompassing you, there is a cosmic egg that is encompassing everything that we see and experience.
Including Mother Earth.
Good.
Including Mother Earth.
Including Mother Earth. Okay? So, and this one is about 3 to 5 feet from outside of you. And this is why for those people who are empaths. Okay? If you are an empath, and once again, this actually goes into what's currently going on right now with the social distancing.
This is it right here, guys.
This is why they don't want us to connect with each other, because they understand that our causal bodies extend to about 3 to 5 feet outside of us, and they got everybody talking about 6 feet now. They want to talk about 12. That's because they don't want us to connect with each other, because we can connect with each other and we transfer information, because there are people like us who have knowledge of things that's going on. Not saying that we're gurus, because we're not gurus, but we have an understanding of things that's going on in this universe and in our own universe. And if we just walk past somebody, we can transfer information to somebody else. We can actually, if we've tapped into that that celestial body where we're tapping into that happiness and that unconditional love, just because we walk by somebody,
you'll feel the vibration.
Right? that's one of the reasons why they have this whole social distancing going on, because they know that so many people are woke right now, and they are lifting their vibrations, and they understand that for those who have reached a certain level, just them being in the presence of somebody lifts their vibration, and that's not going along with the agenda.
No, because where there is fear, love and fear, they're kind of like, you know, so they rather have that fear thing going on versus the love. The love frequency puts you at a different vibration. It's a much faster frequency. And again, these bodies, the further out they go, the faster they vibrate and the higher they vibrate, so the more effective they are, right? And getting in tune with who you are. This is who we are. This is our dimensional body. This is how we travel throughout this world and other worlds, and really how we integrate. So I think a lot of people, if they figure out that they have an electromagnetic field outside of their body, and they also figured out how to use it, some other people might not be too happy.
No.
Okay? If everyone on the planet knew this information, I'm telling you, the government is just going to just be like, you know what, let's just go back to Mars. Because they're not listening to nobody.
No, they're not listening to anybody. All right. Well, we're about to get into the next subject. And once again, we're going to do our best to be respectful of you all's time and cover this information. But this is information that's needed to really set us free.
Yes.
Because for one, once again, in going through self-mastery, you have to know who you are before you can actually master it.
Exactly.
Okay? Because you can't master riding a motorcycle and you don't know how to turn the throttle. You don't know how to pop the clutch or anything like that. And for those who ride bikes, you may know what I'm talking about.
Right.
But, you know, you have to know what you're working with. And once you understand that you are this ultimate being with this immense power inside of you, there's no stopping you.
It's really not. When you realize that you are the one that's creating your reality, like literally creating your reality, and how powerful you are. When you start realizing that thoughts are like clouds, that you are not your thoughts. So then you're less likely to victimize yourself for thinking about a certain thing or thinking about somebody a certain way. Then you realize that you could be the observer, and you could look at that thought. Like when it comes through your mind, you can be like this, and then just look at it. And then when another one flies past you, you can be like, and then you can just come back to the middle and be like, okay, that was interesting. And then you can get to choose if you want to take that thought or take that idea, and you can choose to see, is this going to serve me? Let me think about this. Or, no, you know what? This one is not serving me. I'm going to leave that alone. Instead of just being the pin stick and just, you know, every thought that comes through, you think you got to accept every invitation, and then before you know it, I'm stressed out. So, and then you're messing up your whole emotions, your whole vibration is off.
Yes.
Because you didn't understand that these thoughts are clouds, and you can actually pick which one you want to interact with. Yes, and that's actually what we're going to get into when we come to these belief systems, because a lot of our belief systems are a lot of our belief systems are tied into our thoughts about ourselves and about our external environment. So we're going to go through and actually break down some of these things when it comes to belief systems. Yes. Okay. Now, please forgive me, because with some of these words that's in Latin, I've already forgotten how to pronounce them. Listen, it's conceptual at this point. It's conceptual. But we've pretty much broken this down so that you all can understand what's going on here. Where's my highlighter? I think this one is it. I want to pick that one. Okay. So when we're looking at belief, now the word belief came about in late 12C. What does the C stand for again? I forgot. Do you remember? I know BC is before Christ, and AD is in the year of our Lord. C must be Corona times. So I know AC is definitely gonna be after Corona. In the year AC. I'm telling you, y'all watch and see if they don't do that.
Oh boy. But let me go. So belief is the confidence. Why is that not highlighted? That is not what I want to do. Go back.
Okay.
Let me just stop this. It's not highlighting the way I want it to highlight.
It's okay.
But belief, which came about in the late 12th C, which is believe, is the confidence response in a person or thing, faith in a religion. Now, this replaced the Old English word, which stood for belief or faith. Okay, so once you go back to the origin of things, it's really not so much tied into the whole religious part. It's more about either believing or having faith.
Confidence.
It's not so much a religion. And then when you go back to the Western Germanic, it meant to hold dear and to esteem or trust. Okay, so this is where the belief comes from, because there's certain things that we learned as a child that something that your parents taught you, and you just hold it so dear, so you have that belief. You may not say it's a belief, but you know it's just something that your parents taught you, and it's just something that you just went along with, not labeling it as a belief, but it is a belief when you look into the origin of things.
Right, and so you put trust on it because of who it's coming from. So there's an automatic trust put on it.
Right. And then when you look into the system, system, the whole creation, the universe.
Wow.
And this is from 1610. This is from late Latin, and it's also an arrangement of, an arrangement with system, or from the Greek systema. I know I may be butchering that, but system. Oh yeah, systema. Yeah. Sound like systema.
No, that's not,
that's
not it, baby.
That's not it.
That's not it.
Okay. Y'all gonna understand that that's actually just one of my belief systems that's actually protecting me from feeling like I'm stupid for not pronouncing something right. But I know that about myself, so we're good. But organized whole, a whole compound of parts, and then also further is to place together, to organize, form, and order. So when we're talking about the system, we have a series of things that we hold dear that construct our way, that organize us, that puts us in a place together and form some type of order for our lives.
Yes.
So that's where the belief system is coming from. But when we look at it, just the definition of a belief system is a set of principles or tenets which together form the basis of a religion, philosophy, or moral code.
Right.
Okay.
That's the belief system. And we, believe it or not, we give ourselves belief systems.
Yes.
Outside of the other belief system that's the construct within the matrix, we provide ourselves belief systems. And this is where things can get really sticky in our lives because of these belief systems. Okay?
Yes. And so when we look into our belief systems, they normally stem out from what our core beliefs are. Because whatever our core belief is going to dictate our faith. Whatever our core belief is, it dictates our emotions. Whatever our core belief is, it dictates our behaviors. And out of those core beliefs, we also identify who we are.
Yes, we label ourselves based off of whatever this core belief system is. Sometimes these core belief systems, we get programmed with those things at a very young age. And so sometimes these core belief systems could be formulated because of some type of trauma, because of some type of embarrassment, or because somebody teased you. It just this is how they're formed. There's different ways you can form these core belief systems, and from whatever that story is that you tell yourself, because that's the core belief. The core belief is a story that you tell yourself. Okay, this is in the subconscious now. This is the unconscious mind that we're talking about. Mm-hmm. So all of our core beliefs, it lays in the unconscious mind, which means it's playing out without our awareness. It's something that happens automatically, and we don't even know about it because it's a core belief and it's been there for so long. It got so comfortable. Okay, and so all of our emotions, our faith, the way we act, and who we say we are, which can even be a false self because of that story that we're telling ourselves, but it all comes from the belief system. And so we're going to break down our belief system inventory, and we're going to get a little bit deeper into how we're going to chop away at these core belief systems and try to get rid of the ones that's no longer serving us anymore. Because some of these belief systems, they served us at a particular time. This is why we created it, because it worked at one point in time. But some of them, we don't need them anymore. But it still plays out. It still plays. Because it worked 10 years ago. So why is it not going to work now? Right? But this goes back to a saying that I love. When you have a hammer, when your only tool is a hammer, everything that comes in front of you is a goddamn nail. Because that's what you got. Everything is a nail for you. Okay? Bam. Bam. You're doing surgery. I got my hammer. Surgery. Even when you got a nail, you got a hammer. So nail. Everything is a freaking nail when your only tool is a hammer. But we forget that there's a hammer only works on the nail. It don't work in other things. So those are the core belief systems, right? And we have to be able to go into our unconscious mind, and we have to be able to dismantle some of these core belief systems.
Right.
That's not working anymore.
Yes. And we're about to go through the process of breaking down some of these belief systems. We'll see what we got in the chat here. My dad used to say that all the time. All right. Well, we're about to go into, we're going to take one particular thought, and with this thought, you can actually use this as a template to break down some things for yourself.
Yes.
So that once you can understand these belief systems and you can break them down and understand where they're coming from, now you can take more control of yourself, and you can have more control over your entire environment.
Yes, because at the bottom line, what we're doing is we are actually taking all of these fragmented parts of ourselves, and we are becoming the watcher.
Right.
We are now the watcher of ourselves instead of being the victim. We're watching. And so when you watch something, you have a broader view where you can actually implement, delete, erase, replace. But if you're the participant, then you really don't have that much control.
Right. So, and just going back just a few slides, where we talked about before how the 7 subtle bodies and how those thoughts are actually outside of you, and it's up to you to decide whether or not that thought should be acted upon or if you should just let it go.
Right.
Now, in this particular situation, when we're talking about belief systems, we're talking about thoughts that do come through that field and that go through the processes of your conscious mind. And because of these thoughts, it births your belief systems, your core beliefs. It
emotions,
produces your emotions, your faith, and your identity. And there's actually a little question mark down at the bottom, but we're going to go into that a little bit later. That's like a little secret thing. So, but we want to give a shout out to Gary Vann, who actually is one of the really good pioneers in this area as far as when it comes to belief systems. One of the things that we wanted to share with this one is that because it really just confirmed a lot of the things that we did, but when it comes about visually, it really helps out. So let's go ahead right into it. And the thought that we're going to be breaking down right now is, I have to be right.
Right. And we'll see. This will be a core belief.
Yes.
So one of the core beliefs that we're going to use as an example is, I have to be right. And now this is a core belief that we could have adapted in childhood. Who knows where we adapted it, but it's now a core belief within the unconscious mind. Right? And we're going to show you how it behaves.
Right. Now, this core belief can manifest itself in a couple of different ways. Because if you're saying that you have to be right, let's take a step out and see where is this coming from. All right? Because when we look at this first step, it's the belief that I am right. So I have to be right because I am right.
Right. What you mean I'm not right? I'm always right.
Right. And then the next one is that, yeah, I'm right because if I'm wrong, then I'm stupid.
Right. And remember now, this is a story that's coming from the core belief. These are the stories.
And then the next one is that you have to be right is that because I hate to be stupid. Now, you got to notice a little tweak in what just happened here, because in the one prior to that, it said, if I'm wrong, then I'm stupid. So that's more of feeling like ashamed, right? But when it says that I hate being wrong, that's like some type of anger that's coming out of that, okay? So you got to really check those emotions and see where this core belief is coming from.
Right.
And if y'all can just drop something in the chat to let us know if the connection's still coming through good, because I'm showing just a little bit of lag here, but we want to make sure that we're connected and everybody's tuned in right now. Okay? But the next one is, this is all coming, this is just different modes that's coming from I have to be right.
Right.
And the next one is, I hate that people may see me as stupid.
Right.
Okay? And then out of the same belief of having to be right is that if I'm stupid, then I'm worthless. Like, that is not a good feeling to feel like that you're worthless. Okay, good. So connection's good. Awesome. All right. And then the last one is I'm a failure.
Yes.
So you got all of these different emotions that are stemming from this one core belief that I have to be right. And one of these emotions are springing up, and I'm going to let you take into this next slide as to, so you can actually see these emotions that are coming from out of this.
Right. And notice the wheel, it's spiraling down. So this emotion where I have to be right takes you on a downward spiral, right? So you see it's emitting, if I'm wrong, then I'm stupid. So you're afraid of being stupid. And fear, we already know, is a low vibration anyhow. And then I hate to be stupid. That's turning into self-hate. So you're starting to bash yourself. You're turning into the victim mentality. Now you're getting angry because you're saying, I hate that people might see me as being stupid. So now you're mad because you think the world thinks you're stupid. And then you have the one that's saying, oh, now you're feeling worthless. Now you're going into the pit of pits. You start feeling stupid. You start feeling worthless. And then you really at the bottom now. Now you're like, I'm a failure. So your motivation is gone. You don't even want to do anything anymore.
Yes.
So you're just completely worthless. And this all comes from, I have to be right.
Yes.
And this is in the subconscious. So if you're not the watcher of yourself, you're not going to pay attention to the core belief of I have to be right. And this is just an example. There are other core beliefs. You have jealousy as a core belief. You have anger as a core belief. It all depends on, what you hold dear to you in the subconscious and what type of emotions it's emitting. Right.
And then going out into the next part, you can actually see how these emotions birth certain identities within us.
Yes.
For example, when you have the core belief, I have to be right, and you say that because I am right, of course I'm right. And you have that character, yeah, I am right.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you look into the next one, when you look at the fear, it's the character that's afraid of being wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And just to switch this around, let's just say that you have to find that soulmate, and your core belief is that you have to find that soulmate so that you're not wrong and you don't look stupid,
Mm-hmm.
because you're afraid of telling people, because you done told so many people, oh, I'm gonna find my soulmate, I'm gonna get married, I'm gonna find my twin flame, all this stuff. So you're operating out of this character of fear,
Mm-hmm.
that you don't want to look stupid to
Right.
other people by telling them that you got this awesome person, but I hadn't met him yet.
Wow.
You know, just
That's deep.
giving some insight off of that.
And just knowing that all of these characters around the wheel, pride, fear, self-hate, anger, worthlessness, these are all archetypes. Okay, this is where we get into the fragmented part of self. So these are all archetypes that we create within ourselves, right? And they all stem from the core belief. So this is how we can get fragmented. And we're going to go, and then you see, what we do is we make the mistake of actually identifying with each of these fragmented part of ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
and saying that this is who I am.
Yes.
Right? That's a false identity, because this is not who you are. This is just your emotions stemming from the core belief, the story that you're telling yourself in your unconscious mind, and you put it in your unconscious mind because at one point in time it served you, it helped you out of a situation.
Right. And so you can see how, these things determine your behavior. But if you weren't aware of these things, then you'll just be like a leaf in the wind.
Yeah.
You'll just be blowing in the wind. Every time the wind blow left, you going left. Every time the wind blow right, you going right. But once you're able to step outside of this circle and step outside of this belief system, aka BS,
Right.
then you're able to get a bird's eye view of what's going on and understand that you're not this emotion. Once again, going through the technique that we're talking about, letting it rain,
Mm-hmm.
where you recognize, you accept, you investigate, and then you non-identify by understanding that you're not the body, you're not the mind, you're not your emotions.
Right.
So if you are not those things, what are you?
What are you? And that's what we get into.
Okay. Now, on to the other part where we had the question mark on here. Like, what is that question mark about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, this particular session is really deep. And this, once I was able to go through and understand this part, it actually explained a lot. For those who followed us for quite some time, you know, I talked about having Swiss cheese memory.
Mm-hmm.
Because there were some events that I went through that were just so traumatic that I couldn't remember.
That is true.
So I'm gonna let you touch on this part, babe.
Okay. So with the question mark, right? There's some emotions, or there's some core beliefs, I should say. There's some core beliefs that we have. They are buried so far into the subconscious or the unconscious mind for such a long time that now they get into our nervous system. So now they you have to do a little bit more than just meditation and
Mm-hmm.
maybe deep breathing. Not for everyone, because for some people, they can really, they can heal themselves through the techniques of deep breathing, meditation, change of diet. But for
Mm-hmm.
some people, the trauma is so deep, depending on what it is, it really gets in like on a physical level.
Yes.
So, and then these physical ailments can come out as really like angry. So you blowing up because somebody stepped on your toe.
It's like PTSD.
You're right. You
It's
just
PTSD.
very angry for anger that's not even measurable. So you're really angry. And then you might be extremely jealous. Like, I mean, psycho crazy jealous. But you don't know why. You know, so
Right.
it's coming out through your psyche, through your nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
And so even though you're saying, you know, I understand everything, you know, I get it, okay, it makes sense to me, but somehow my body is just not doing what I know it should do. This is when it's in your nervous system. This is when it's affecting you on a physical level. So there are actually treatments that's really good for this. One of them is called somatic experiencing.
Yes.
Okay, and again, somatic experiencing. There are professionals that do this, or you can do it yourself. Like we do have links where we can provide it to you if this is something that you're experiencing, so that you can do your own type of treatment. They've discovered that, and they did this study on animals maybe 30, 40 years ago, when they realized that that animals, after they had a traumatic experience, like if a tiger tried to eat them or whatever have you, or a lion tried to attack them, they would notice that they will go in some type of a corner where they feel safe, and they'll shake their body in a weird way to shake off the fear or the energy. And so there are different techniques that people they came up with as far as the physical body to be able to move that traumatic energy, because again, it's energy in motion. The energy is supposed to move through your body. It's not supposed to get stuck.
Right.
So there are different techniques that you can do to actually get that energy to start moving along out of the body.
Yes.
To get you back to some state of normalcy again.
Right. Right. So yeah. So that's for traumas. That's
PTSD.
That's PTSD. And just to give you kind of a visual of this, and I was trying to find some visuals to really, actually I do have some visuals of that, but let me show you first where this pain or these emotions actually show up in your body, because they are actually inside of your body.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm just going to go into the next chart, because we get kind of broke it up so it can make it a little bit easier for everybody to see. But you can see within your neck, some of those emotions that show up are signs of question, stubbornness, inflexibility. So if you're having that pain in your neck, that could be where that's coming from. Or in your shoulders, it represents your ability to experience our life joyously, the burden of our own attention. Attitude, right. And then I'll let you go into this next part, babe.
So the next one is the spine. And if you notice, each of these energy points, they correlate with your chakras, and also with your etheric body, your emotional body, your mental body. When you really draw the dots together, you see how they're all interconnected. All right, so the spine, see those points in the spine? That one at the top right there, at the top of the spine, it represents support in life. So sometimes you might experience in different pains and aches in your bodies, and you haven't been in any accident. Nothing is wrong with you, but you're getting aches and pains in your body. And so when you see yourself starting getting aches and pains in different places in your body, it's energy that's getting stuck. And each emotion that we experience, happiness, sadness, joy, hatred, all of these emotions, they're energy moving through the body. So when you think about happiness, that's dopamine that's being produced by the brain, right? You literally produce hormones, and those hormones, they have to go someplace. They all have to go someplace. When you think about depression, your body produces a hormone for depression. And it has to go someplace. And some people don't know healthy ways of letting it out of their body, so it gets trapped. And there are specific homes, if you want to call it homes, that these emotions would attach to. And so for the upper neck, lack of emotional support, feeling unloved, you see where that energy gets stuck. Holding back love, that's an emotion, and it gets stuck, it gets displaced. In front of the elbows, represents change in direction and accepting new experiences. The wrist, it represents movement and ease. And the hips, fear of going forward in a major decision. And the knees, stubborn pride and ego, inability to bend, fear, inflexibility, won't give in.
Yes. So
when you notice these type of changes in your body, you can reflect. It's kind of like doing self diagnosis. You're at this point now where you can diagnose yourself. And once you're able to diagnose yourself, then you know how to heal yourself. And again, ties into self-mastery.
Right. Now, Now, this is showing you where this pain and things are coming from when the memory and everything is in a tight little package, okay? This is just your normal memories, your normal emotions that you go through. But when you get into this area where things were really traumatic, okay? This is the reason why you would seek professional help in a situation like this with somebody who practices EMDR, okay? Because what happens in a traumatic event, if any of you all have ever seen Inside Out, this is a perfect example. With the cartoon movie, I don't know how many of y'all have seen that. If you can wave or give a thumbs up or anything like that, let us know if you actually seen Inside Out. But what happens, awesome, yeah, y'all see it, okay. So what happens is, so just imagine that when the young girl, whenever she had a good emotion, it came through in this beautiful ball. It was tied up nice and neat, and it went off and it was stored. And so like whenever she wanted to go back and revisit that memory, she was able to do it. And she was also able to do that with sad memories as well, and angry memories, okay? But what happens with when it comes to traumatic events, imagine one of those balls just breaking and shattering everywhere. So you got a little piece here, you got a little piece there, but you don't have the whole story. So that's what happens when you have these traumatic events. You are literally fragmented.
Literally. And so with EMDR, what this does on a physical level, it gathers all of the pieces back together, right? Gather the story together in a safe place, put them back together safely, and you accepting it as a part of yourself, right? This is all a part of knowing yourself. Because have you ever lost something? Like, have you ever lost a crystal? Like, let's say you got a nice piece of crystal, because I like crystals. I'm going to use crystals. I missed
still
this.
haven't found my moldavite.
Right. Okay, this is a good example. So he can't find his moldavite. Everybody knows moldavite is like super expensive.
It's expensive.
It's literally
like $40 for this little piece.
It's from out of this world. Like it's literally out of this world, because it is, right? So imagine him now not able to find his moldavite. And then maybe tomorrow he looks under the bed and the moldavite is there. Could you imagine the excitement that he would have?
I would be so crunk.
Okay.
Right.
So this is the same example you can take with the EMDR. You know, because we have fragments of ourselves that we haven't seen for so long, and we forget that it's a part of ourselves. So with this type of therapy is bringing it all back in again to heal whatever experience that you had by, you know, getting all the stories together, telling yourself a different story, so that whenever you revisit that moment, it won't be traumatic.
Right.
You can literally change the story that you tell yourself. But some people just need a little extra professional help.
All right. And that brings us to the end of this, and we are just about to hit 2 hours.
Wow, it took